Did we all
what kind of a
love the
weekend has
coronation?
everybody had? Have you all been tuned into the telly? Or
Yeah.
were you there in person?
Yes.
TV.
Kind of.
I'm surprised you weren't invited, Debbie. You are, you know, because you're one of the, what would I say, stalwarts of entertainment in this country.
National treasure.
A national
Yes.
treasure, yes.
Well,
exactly.
I think, you know, I did get to do the Queen's pageant.
You did.
Yes.
And I think because the coronation, you know, they were limited to 2,500 people.
Yes.
I think
That's
they
right.
really tried to get it sort of right across the board. And, you know, and I was so glad because I wouldn't have been able to get up that early and go and sit in the old Abbey.
It was
What-
fabulous. Did you watch it, all of you?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
actually
So
did.
Debbie, what did you actually do for the coronation?
Well, on Coronation Day, some people from my village, we all got together for just a glass of English champagne. We were going to meet on boats, you know, because I live on the river, but the weather was so awful, so we had to abandon that. But I went to a coronation party where everybody dressed as kings and queens.
You were going to send me a picture and you never did.
I know, I will, though, when we finish.
Yes.
You know, if,
What was your
editor
outfit like?
wants to put it in, I don't mind. So I've been looking for some quite regal things, you know, but then I found this hysterical costume, and it was one of those where there's fake legs on it, and it was like the Queen was carrying me on her shoulders. So my legs were the Queen's, and I found some little slingback shoes that were very queeny. And then it's a dress, and then a big mask head that was where my waist is, a hat, and fake arms that were around fake legs, as if the Queen was holding my legs, and then the top bit was just Debbie McGee. Oh, it was hysterical.
Love it.
No, I will
Love
send a picture so you can put it in so people can see.
Oh,
the
yes,
photo.
please.
Please.
But I have
Oh,
to say,
goodness.
it was great because it wasn't like going to a party and wearing a cocktail outfit or something and you're frightened of spilling something on you, or, you know, you're going to hold your tummy in or whatever. It was like a just let rip.
Yeah, because you were
wonderful.
being held by the Queen. What did you do, Natalie?
Oh, I have eaten so many pork pies and pickles and Coleman's mustard and English champagne. I loved every single second of it. All the gold and the fascinators and the hats and the whole thing, and the concert. Oh my God, the concert was out of this world. The drones, those incredible, not fireworks anymore, is it? It's drones in the sky. Unbelievable. I thought it was wonderful. I'm buzzing from this weekend. I wanted to show you something that my husband is a theatrical caricaturist. He's an actor, but he's also a theatrical caricaturist. And he painted this.
Oh, wow.
My
Beautiful.
goodness, that's wonderful. Beautiful.
Isn't he beautiful?
Oh,
King Charles. Anyway, the whole
clever.
thing was wonderful. I really, really had a good weekend.
so talented. Well, I have to say, I was a little bit like Scrooge at Christmas, you know, thinking I'm not going to do anything for the coronation. It's all going to be, a washout. And, we've had the Jubilee and the Queen's gone, and, nobody can sort of step into her shoes. And then suddenly, a few days before I started warming up, and I bought some bunting. That was the beginning. And I put the bunting up, and then all my neighbours said, "Do you want to come in for a drink throughout the day?" And I went, "Oh, think about it." And then I said, "Well, actually, you could come in to me first and have champagne and, and some sort of canapes." And then it was a bit like waking up on Christmas morning with Scrooge. And I was like, "Oh, it's the coronation day. I've got to celebrate." And they came in and we were drinking. And then I went down to have high tea in the afternoon and then dinner. And it went on and it was amazing. Amazing.
It's such a good feeling when people get together. I call it Bunting Britain, because I think Bunting Britain is what we all remember so well. And, village fates and things.
I didn't do anything.
I love that.
I didn't do anything.
Didn't you do anything?
Did you watch it?
Oh, you could have come over here, darling, and sort of celebrate
all
it.
by my own, as Albie would say. All by my own.
But it was lovely, wasn't it? It was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. There was this thing on, what was it? I just saw that at the end of it, Katy Perry of the concert. Katy Perry and Lionel Richie were talking. I think they were on American Idol, and suddenly the King and Queen came in as a surprise. I mean, it was brilliant. Look it up. Look it up. It's absolutely sweet.
Amazing.
Our politics have been very shaky, haven't they, for the last few years, and
Yes.
everything going on. And although the Queen's pageant and even her funeral brought a lot of people together, there were quite a few interviews through the coronation that were talking about how important it is to have a monarchy. And it was saying how they are born, you know, to serve their subjects, not their subjects serving them, which is this misconception that so many people have, and how much good they really do for people and make people feel better in the
Did
country.
you know that Jimmy Choo, our beautiful shoes that we love, he started apparently with investment from the Prince's Trust.
Wow, that's
Wow.
fantastic.
I
And
mean,
the
there have been
interviews
so many disadvantaged people whose career have been kickstarted. The Prince's Trust does and
incredible.
has always done so much.
And
I
there
think
was-
he's amazing.
They were saying on something I was listening to on the radio when I was getting ready to go to my party, about how lots of people have been complaining of how much it costs, you know, because it's something, you know, it's fortunes, but it's something like, you know, I can't remember the figures now, but say it cost 12 million to put on with all the security and everything else. But what it's brought in globally to businesses is something like 12 billion. You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
on the
Yeah.
back of it, our tourist trade will increase, but the global sales of things to do with the coronation, all the money that will flood back into the UK, and it's why we shouldn't get rid of them. It can change in what it has been, and yes, I agree that we need to move on a bit, but I would be very sad if we lost them.
I don't think
want
we
a
will.
president.
We
But
won't.
I need to ask this question. Were William and Kate late?
No,
I think King Charles, sorry, I think he was early.
he was early. Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
No,
And
but
there
they
was a
came
funny-
in behind him. And I think they should have been before him. But never mind. It was weird
Really?
because I wondered if they were late.
No,
Can you
because
imagine?
he was very early. But
He was.
I flicked channels watching it, and ITV showed Princess Anne being seated. Did anyone see this? Where she got in the row behind the front row, and then there's a whole kerfuffle of no, you've got to come out and sit in the front row. And then she was sitting in front of Harry with her big Star of Garter feather that covered his face up. And now there's a whole thing on the internet that something else, Meghan was covered by a candle, and then at the coronation, Harry was covered by this feather. But I'm sure it wasn't purposely done, but it was just it was funny.
I felt kind of sad because I how I feel about the whole thing is, you know, but I did feel sorry for Harry walking in all by himself, because how can you face everybody when you've done all that?
Yes.
But I kind of did feel sorry for him. But then he left and he was, you know, back at home having a I don't know, some birthday tea by the time the thing was finished.
Now, girls, we've got to talk about something very important because we have an amazing guest. But it's the next important thing to happen, which, as far as I'm concerned, is better than the coronation. We are talking about
Eurovision.
Yes, I distinctly remember, and this is just going to really age me. Ghana winning. Oily coins of everything reminds me of you. Do you remember that? I was at boarding school, and I remember we all stayed up to watch it because in those days it was a show really to watch.
Yeah.
Anyway, as you know, that I'm connected to Eurovision these days.
Yes, we know, darling, we know.
By
Eurovision
marriage.
party. Yes.
And so we're dying to know what's going on in Liverpool, dying to know what's happening. And of course, we have our man of the moment who's actually there, who's actually won Eurovision, my son-in-law. Yes.
And my surrogate son.
Yes. And then anyone else, you can all have him. My gorgeous son-in-law, Måns Zelmerlöw. My gorgeous son-in-law.
How are we?
Hello, darling. Where are you?
I am in the lobby of the Arena Hotel in Liverpool.
Aha. And Måns, tell us what you are doing there.
I am here for Eurovision week. Liverpool has gone all in.
Yeah.
You can see Ukraine and Eurovision signs everywhere, and it's absolutely lovely. Like yesterday was also sunny, which was incredible. So people everywhere. Yeah, it's really a Eurovision buzz.
Yes. So what are you actually doing there at the moment, darling?
So I'm here doing a podcast for the BBC called Eurovision Cast. So we do one podcast each day, and then I'm doing some interviews and media, and then I'm commentating for Swedish television on Saturday, the actual final.
Aha.
So Måns, for people who are tuning into Wonderbirds today, who of course we all know all about you, but they don't. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your link to Eurovision, because it's quite special.
Absolutely. I've always been a Eurovision fan. Watched it with my grandmother when I was a child and have loved it ever since. And obviously in Sweden, it's massive. Like Eurovision and the national selection show called Melodifestivalen is so big, and the whole country stops when it's on. And then I won it in 2015. The national selection show, came to Vienna for Eurovision. That was a dream come true. Could feel the weight of my country on my shoulders. I've always wanted to become an athlete, and this is probably as close to representing my country in a sport I'll ever get. And then I won it.
So after you won, we always wonder, we know what happens to people in England, but around the world, did it change your life? Did it change your career?
Yeah, it really did. And I think that is like what most Brits don't really get, is what a massive stepping stone and platform it can be nowadays, because it's a lot more modern than it used to be, and it actually your song can top the charts all over the place after a Eurovision win. And even like we had a I don't remember who it was, but she came like 20th in the final last year, and she is now doing a US tour, and her song has become massive everywhere. So yeah, it's a great platform. And then I got to host it in 2016 as well, when it came to Stockholm.
Well, Måns, I've got to tell you, when I came out to Sweden with Debbie a couple of years ago, it was like being with royalty, actually. It was like being with the Beatles. You were mobbed everywhere we went. And somebody came up to me in a restaurant and said, "Are you Måns Zelmerlöw's mother?" I didn't know whether to be shocked or surprised, but I was very flattered.
Yeah, but you're right. It is so big in Sweden, and I've done the national selection show 3 times before, or twice before winning it, and like I did it the first time in 2007, came 3rd, and that just made my career happen.
Wow.
And so Måns, for you, and of course, it is a different, it's big here, but it isn't like it is in other countries, as you said, in Sweden, how enormous it is. How did you cope with the fame game afterwards? Because, were you, when you did it the first time, were you already a name in Sweden?
I was a little bit. I had done Pop Idol in Sweden in 2005, and then came 5th there, and then they asked me to do Strictly, the Swedish version, and I did and won that. So I was a name, because then I did Melodifestivalen and the selection show in 2007, and so I was a bit of a name. Yeah.
But you've got all this very young, that I think it's quite a lot to cope with when you're young, and you seem to, from what I know of you, stayed quite grounded with it all. Why do you think you've been able to keep pretty grounded?
His wife,
pop stars go off the rails.
My wife and my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
No, I think that is part of the truth, actually, because it's having my old friends very close, and my parents have always been extremely supportive, but also been very, very honest and down to earth with it all. So
Måns, I was lucky enough to be brought to you were playing in Camden recently, and I found all of you and the band, everything was so grounded, and you just came across as being such great great friends, apart from brilliant musicians. And
Yeah.
you're obviously the star of the show, fronting the band, but everybody was, it was so organically part of each other. It was lovely. And I'm not surprised you're all grounded if these are all your friends, and you were amazing. I left buzzing.
We've just been out on a spring tour, and we've played together for 15 years, and it's so amazing to see that they all feel ownership. Like, even if I am the lead singer, they all feel that like we're doing this together, and that they are part of the product, which is amazing.
What's the number that you did completely a cappella? You all come forward, everybody puts down their instruments, and you all sing with no instruments. It's so stunning. What was that number? That
is a song called Hearts Collide, and we've done that every tour. We've always taken one of my songs and made an a cappella version of it, and it's very appreciated.
So
thank you very much.
When you're going on tour, who chooses the songs?
The MD does, together with me, I'd say. So we had a workshop in the beginning of January where me, the MD, and my bass player Alex, we sat down and first of all wrote a song that would like frame the tour. So because it was the tour was called Spring Cries.
Yeah.
And we needed a song to explain that. So we wrote that, and then we sat and like went through all my albums and looked at what songs do we want to play.
Måns, one thing sorry, Dave. One thing I've always wanted to ask you, Måns, is when did you decide to become a performer, and how did your parents react?
They've always been very supportive when it comes to my music, and they forced me to start playing the piano when I was 8, and I absolutely hated it. But then I started playing the guitar, and my mom, every time we would have friends over for dinner, my mom would insist on me bringing out the guitar and singing at the table, which I hated at the start. But then after a while, I got used to it and started liking it a bit. And that was quite a good school for me, because then actual school came, and I started doing I realized that was I wasn't the best at any sport, but I was the only one who had music and could sing. So that was my identity. And then after one of the shows at school, 2 girls from 2 grades higher than me came up and said, "Please call us in 10 years." And at that point, I realized this is something to go for. And then, then it's just been going on ever since. And,
but as they are doctors,
they've been super supportive, but they are both academics, both of them. They are doctors, and my mother is a scientist as well. And so they've always wanted me to have an education to fall back on, which I don't, unfortunately. But it's almost too late now.
No, but you're very good at interior decoration, aren't you?
I mean, my wife is better, definitely, but I have the big brush strokes, and she has the more detailed ones. So we're quite a good team there.
I think you should do a DIY show, you and Kira, because you're always making things, Måns. I mean, I'm sure the public don't realise this, but when you come back from your tours, she's got you making things in the garden. You just do everything: beds for the children, wardrobes, knocking walls down.
Yeah,
exactly.
The pandemic was very good for having time to do stuff around the house. But yeah, we should definitely do Wonderbirds DIY.
Yes. The last time I saw Kira, she was being a plumber's assistant, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah.
She looked great.
She's plastering a bathroom as we speak.
She was plastering a bathroom. She was covered in sort of powder, and she looked so happy.
Måns, now what we need to ask, the most important thing now, is who do you think is going to win Eurovision this time, and who are the favourites?
It's a very exciting year. I've been following this since February, so I'm quite fed up with Eurovision at this point. But I think that Sweden has a great song this year. It's Loreen is back. She won it in 2012, and she is quite likely to win it again, actually. And if she does, she'll be the first one to do so twice since Johnny Logan.
Oh,
And Sweden will then have 7 victories, same as Ireland. But the ones challenging her, I'd say, is Finland, France, maybe Spain, and Norway.
UK?
What
And
about
the
the
UK
UK?
I was really hoping, because like what Sam Ryder did last year for Eurovision in the UK is really remarkable, because it feels like
Yeah.
it's exploded and everyone is talking about it and everyone knows what it is now, and people are actually excited this year. So I was really hoping that May Muller would have she does have a great song, I feel, a song that could put her on the left half of the scoreboard. But I think there have been some difficulties rehearsal wise for her and vocally.
That's subtle.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
So we'll see. But I mean, it's not. I mean, Saturday, those 3 minutes is all that matters.
Mhm.
And that's what men always say, don't they?
Yeah. Those 3
Very
minutes,
true.
Debbie.
Those 3 minutes and those two little boys. Yes, that's another story altogether.
That's another
Exactly.
program.
1.5 minutes each.
Yeah.
So, Måns, if you hadn't have taken up music, was there something else that you think, if I hadn't have done this, I would have done that?
As I said, I've always wanted to become an athlete, and I really thought I would become a tennis pro. So up until the age of 16, I was practicing so much, and but then I realized I wasn't very. I was competitive, but I completely choked every time I competed, so it didn't work. But so now I'm really dreaming that my kids will become tennis pros, both of them. And then no, but then I applied for a pilot education after school, and that didn't happen because then Pop Idol came. But I think that had I not gone down that route, I would have been a pilot by now.
You look a bit like a pilot. But
Thank you very much.
Måns has got this sort of special thing, and actually Albie's got it too, his grandson. I don't know if Osbos has got it, but Måns never seems to get dirty. You remember Tony Curtis in The Great Race, how he always stayed white and everybody else got, but Måns always looks immaculate and clean, and I never understood why. And especially the best thing you ever did was jump inside a bin on Christmas Day to get all the stuff down, and you came out and you were perfect. Why is this?
I don't know how it's done. But you're right. I'm very I rarely have a stain.
Yeah.
Oh, and Albie is the same.
Yeah, he is actually. He's very, very clean as well.
Very, very clean. It's a very, very odd.
And he loves like dirt and bugs and stuff, but he always comes out completely clean somehow.
And he's a genius, darling. He's a genius, Albie. I was having full-blown conversations with him when he was about a year and a half, you know.
He is phenomenal.
Yeah,
I feel
he really is.
Ossian is going to be the same though. He's quite clever as well for his age. I mean, he's 9 months, so you don't really know yet, do you?
It's lovely to see you, darling. Well, listen, so we'll be seeing you or hearing you on your podcast. Where we can find it just on the BBC Sounds, can we?
BBC Sounds, exactly, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh yes,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Are the other like the Wednesday and Friday? There are other shows, aren't they? Are they going to be shown on BBC as well?
Yeah. So semi-final 1 is tomorrow night on BBC One, I think, and then semi-final 2 on Thursday night. And they're both like, I know that the UK aren't, because the UK is part of the Big Five, which means that they are directly qualified for the final. But the semi-finals are very fun to watch. It's a bit like, X Factor, the first shows, or Pop Idol, the first shows, where you have the worst of the worst and the best of the best. And that is what the semi-finals are. So there are quite a number of performances this year that stand out, so to speak.
Brilliant.
And your podcast is called what, if people are looking for it?
Eurovision Cast.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Darling.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
And I will see you next weekend. Well, when you come back from Liverpool.
Yes, definitely Sunday roast on Sunday.
Oh yes,
Yes, please.
darling. Thank you.
then.
Love you.
Thank you. Love
darling.
you. Bye.
Bye, darling. Oh, isn't he
Fabulous.
just gorgeous? Just gorgeous.
And
You're very
interesting.
lucky to have such a brilliant son-in-law, and he's so kind and lovely too, isn't he?
Yeah.
He
Very
really was
Swedish.
amazing. When Debbie took me to them playing live, he and his band, he has such a lovely persona on stage. He's just
Yes.
he really connects. reacts, doesn't he, with the whole audience? Fabulous.
It's
Yeah,
just
but
that he's comfortable in his own skin, is what we'd say.
Very.
So,
Yes, he is, Debbie, you're right. He is.
yeah, he's you know, he's a pro. He's
Yeah.
one of us, really.
Yeah.
And his parents are fantastic. I mean, his mother is a scientist and a professor, and hearing that, you'd think she'd be very austere, but she's outrageous, isn't she, Dee?
Yes, completely outrageous.
Beautiful,
She's
stunningly
oh,
beautiful,
she's stunning, stunning. And
stunningly
loves
beautiful.
dancing.
Yeah, she's crazy. She has the energy of, you know, she's always, woo, let's go, you know. Really beautiful, really fun, and just an amazing person, really.
Yes, she is.
The whole family.
She said to me, Dee, would you like to come on a hike with me? And I said, oh, I'd love to. And Debbie went, shut up. I'm not going on any hikes.
Right? She'd have us up mountains,
Hike.
God knows where.
Another
I mean,
four
just one of
letter
those
word.
20-mile hikes. No, thank you. You know, jumping, you know what these Swedes are like, jumping into the sea in the middle of the winter. Wow, they're mad. They're all mad. All insane. Anyway, we will see you on Friday. We'll be back on Friday, actually. So don't forget to watch the Eurovision, the Eurovision semi-finals. I don't think I've ever seen a semi-final before. Have you?
No,
I haven't, no.
So I think
Absolutely.
we'll have to watch those.
We certainly will.
So we will be back on Friday. Who's back? Who's here on Friday, Dee?
We're going to be talking about sex toys.
But Debbie, unfortunately, won't be here for that, but she'll be here for the week after. But I'm
Yes,
sorry,
we'll
Debbie.
tell you all about it.
We'll
You
tell you
left me out.
we will tell you all about it, because
Well,
if we can even talk on that show.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I will be tuning in and watching you.
Yes,
and I will
you.
be calling you Frankie and Gracie, isn't it? The James Bond program.
Yes, exactly.
came up
It's
with this.
such a shame you weren't around when we were trying them. That sounds terrible, doesn't it?
It does.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, until then.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.